All right, welcome back, crime fighters. It is time for another edition of Calhoun County's Most Wanted, the program where you get to help make Calhoun County a better and safer place for all of us. I'm your host, Chris Wright, along with Calhoun County Sheriff Matthew Wade. Good to see you, Sheriff.
Hey, man, I tell you what, Thanksgiving was great. Turkeys was good. Man, I just love this time of year.
It is an excellent time of the year. This is the most wonderful time of the year.
It's the most wonderful time of year. I almost broke out in singing, but I didn't want to hurt everybody. So.
And our viewers are doing a great job calling in tips.
They are. 9 arrests this week. I tell you what, you were on it this week, and I appreciate everything that you've done for us, and that brings our count up to way over 4,000, all because somebody was willing to get involved. Thank you. It's a Christmas present to us, and we're here to serve you and hopefully can make our community safer and better.
All right, so now we do hope that you will help us with any information that you have. Of course, Sheriff, if somebody has information that's vital right now, this is current information of something important, calling Crime Stoppers is not going to be the answer for that.
No, Crime Stoppers is for something that can wait. Anytime you have something going on, call 911. They'll get you to the proper law enforcement agency that you need. Crime Stoppers, which is 256-238-1414. That's where, hey, I know somebody did something. Given that information, somebody will get back to you. And it, of course, as always, you can get money for that. And we pay out money, monthly for that, up to $1,000, depending on what it is. So.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have the first half of this week's lineup. And we're going to talk about some volunteers as well, because today is International Volunteers Day. When we come back on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.
And welcome to this week's edition of Calhoun County's Most Wanted. First up in our lineup this week, Remington Johnson. Mr. Johnson, last known to be living in Birmingham. He's wanted for murder. We're still looking for this guy, so please, if you have any information, give us a call. And we'd like you to take a look at Whitney Snyder. Miss Snyder, last known to be living in Anniston. She's wanted for probation violation for possession of a controlled substance. And this is Alicia Schutz. Miss Schutz, last known to be living in Lincoln. She's wanted for failure to appear in endangering the welfare of a child. And meet Gerald Lawler. Mr. Lawler, last known to be living in Anniston. He's wanted for failure to appear on possession of marijuana first. And have a look at Schaefer Griffin. Mr. Griffin, last known to be living in Talladega. He's wanted for a bond revocation on possession of a forged instrument first. This is Eric Benavides. Mr. Benavides, last known to be living in Anniston. He's wanted for failure to pay on theft of property first. And last up for the first half of our lineup, Donald Lowe. Mr. Lowe, last known to be living in Piedmont. He's wanted for non-payment of child support, the face of a deadbeat dad. And that's it for the first half of our lineup. Stay tuned for the second half later in the show.
All right, we'll have some more bad guys for you here in just a few minutes, but we like to talk about the good guys too, Sheriff.
We do like talking about the good guys.
And as we mentioned right before the break, today is International Volunteers Day. Volunteers are a huge part of the Calhoun County Sheriff's Office.
Absolutely. We have about 30 reserves, and they're all volunteer. At the courthouse, if you go up to the courthouse, they see about 14,000 people a month. Probably half of those people that you see or more are volunteers at work about 1,000 hours or more a year for free.
And we've got a video about the Calhoun County Sheriff's Office Reserve Deputies. Let's go ahead and take a look at that.
This is strictly a voluntary organization. When you say I'm a Sheriff's Reserve, you're putting in your time and your own money into that program. We have 33. Of those, 24 are active. The others are on various leave applications, whether they're medical leave or something like that. On a monthly basis, we're probably getting close to, I'd say 300, 320 hours a month. A reserve has to go through a qualification period where their background is checked. We do a thorough background investigation. Then they go through a number of meetings where we're discussed about each individual reserve, what they can give to the organization, what background they bring that will give us some advantage. Also, we have the reserve ride along a couple of times to see if they really want to do that, a prospective reserve. The Reserve Association has 4 training sessions every year, which is pretty intense training. We're talking firearms training, vehicle stops, legal drug enforcement, those kind of things. Also, the reserve program has its own training program here in-house, and reserves have to qualify for that each year. Well, the courthouse is probably one of the biggest areas reserves are used right now. When you go into the courthouse, generally the people you meet at the front door are going to be reserves. They're going to process you like at the airport to make sure you don't have any weapons or anything, give you directions on where to go. Unseen, the people they don't see are the reserves that escort prisoners from the holding area to the courtrooms each day. Transports. Reserves conduct prisoner transports both in-state and out-of-state. For instance, we may transport a prisoner from here to the state prison, or we may transport a prisoner to Panama City Beach on an extradition. This is a love of something. These people are putting in a lot of time and effort because they love the community, they love what they're doing, and it's the way a lot of them are giving back to the community. They would desperately have to have a bunch of deputies hired, for sure, because the reserves are filling gaps. Civil papers is one of those gaps. We have one reserve right now who's spending 3 days a week serving civil papers, and he's serving about 40 to 80 papers a day. The reserve program is probably one of those places where you pay it back. And we've all heard that term, pay it forward or pay it back. Many of these people have professions where they're working 8 hours a day in their normal jobs. For instance, we have 2 firefighters who are full-time firefighters that are reserve deputies. That means they're working normal jobs, and they're coming out here putting a minimum of 20. We have a 16-hour minimum per month. You have to do 16 hours at least. I've not seen many just 16 hours. Most people are putting in 24 to 50 hours a month in the reserve program. So it's something you have to, you're paying something forward to the community.
Sheriff, I knew that there was a lot of volunteering going on, but until yesterday when I sat down with Frank, I didn't realize quite how much our reserves were doing.
You know, I watched that video, and that's the first time I saw it as well, and it struck emotion with me. It made me very proud. Those guys would do that job for free if they're, you know, they are doing it for free, but you know, how do you find people willing to put their life on the line to do the job they do? To help others. And you know, we have it painted on the wall of the sheriff's office. It talks about being a servant's heart. My hat's off to those guys. I love them. I'm a blessed man to have those kind of people to be with me, to be my coworker. If you notice, I never say that I'm their boss. I'm their coworker. I get to be with them. I get to see the good things they do every day. And that was a great video, Chris. I really appreciate it. It makes me proud.
There's a lot to be proud of with those folks. And we'll talk more about volunteering in just a minute, and we'll also have the second half of this week's lineup when we come back on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.
And welcome to the second half of our lineup. First up this half, Macquarius Orr. Mr. Orr, last known to be living in Anniston, he's wanted for probation violation on possession of marijuana first. And meet Michael Haywood. Mr. Haywood, last known to be living in Sylacauga, he's wanted for failure to appear on possession of marijuana second. And this is David Bishop. Mr. Bishop, last known to be living in Anniston. He's wanted on failure to appear on child support. Another deadbeat dad. And meet Carlos Kelly. Mr. Kelly, last known to be living in Jacksonville. He's wanted for a probation violation on burglary third and failure to appear on child support. And take a look at Lisa Harbin. Miss Harbin, last known to be living in Jacksonville. She's wanted on failure to appear on possession of a forged instrument, first times 5, and writing multiple worthless checks. And last up for our lineup this week, Anthony McKinney. Mr. McKinney, last known to be living in Oxford. He's wanted for failure to pay, domestic violence third, harassment. And that's it for our lineup this week. If you know the whereabouts of these folks, please give us a call at Crime Stoppers. That number 256-238-1414.
All right, we still got the Crime Stoppers segment of the show coming up, and we'll also have our crazy criminal of the week. Sheriff, we got somebody that is not only taking the law into his own hands, he's taking the traffic into his own hands.
You know, that could be a dangerous thing, you know. That could be a very dangerous thing, you know. So we'll talk about that.
That's coming up in a little bit. But today we're talking about volunteers. Today is International Volunteers Day. We just saw a video with Deputy Frank Mills talking about our reserve officers that we have out there every day doing work for free.
Every day, you know, and we recognize them at the end of the year, but it's not, you know, I just feel it's inadequate. How do you thank somebody who does something for you for free? And I mean, I think that goes all the way back to the Bible, goes back to what I believe is we're here to serve others, not to serve ourselves. And when you serve others, it's more, you get the blessing, you know, give it a try.
One of the things that I was really impressed with when I was talking with Frank yesterday shooting that video, he was talking about the training that these volunteers go through and the standards that they're held to. He's talking about on the pistol range, on the firing range, to be qualified to be an employed law enforcement officer in Alabama, you have to shoot a 70 on the firing range.
Yep.
But with the Calhoun County Sheriff's Office, just to be and the employees are held to this as well, but even the volunteers, the people who aren't getting paid for it, they have to score an 80.
We don't like to be the, you know, we don't want the, Calhoun County deserves more than the minimum.
Yeah.
So we try not to reach the minimum in anything we do. We try to be above the bar in everything we do, whether it's shooting our weapons, but more importantly, how we serve and protect the people. And those guys show it, man. They show it each and every day.
And I love that we've got volunteers working for the sheriff's office, working for Calhoun County through the sheriff's office. I also love the fact that we've got so many people in the sheriff's office that are employed that are doing so much volunteer work throughout the community.
Man, you know, the sheriff's office, we took on two charities. We'd love to fix everything every way we can, but we take on the East Alabama United Cerebral Palsy, and we take on the Alabama Baptist Children's Home. I haven't got the total yet because we're still raising money in December for the Beards, but we're going to be giving money to the Alabama Baptist Children's Home. Those people gave their hard-earned money. We had over 100 turkeys bought and paid for by volunteers, by people who given those donations so we could give those turkeys away to people who needed them. And it's not necessarily that they were going to go hungry without the turkey, but it's just letting them know, hey, we love you, we care about you. And you know, we have deputies each and every day. There's stories. I had a story the other day where somebody come up and said, hey, you know Deputy so-and-so? I said, yeah. I said, he's a great person. He goes, no, he's better than a great person. The other day, he ran into my loved one, and they didn't have any gas money, and he gave them $5 so they could get some gas to get home. That deputy never said nothing to me. He never come back and said, hey, I had to give somebody $5. Can you reimburse me?
Yeah.
They're just good. They're good people. Now we're all human. We all have our flaws and have our mistakes, but you know, our whole goal at the sheriff's office is to have that servant's heart, and that servant's heart comes with, you know, you can call it a volunteer, but those volunteers do it because they care.
And we've actually got a website up right now that some of your favorite stories from throughout the country, where especially law enforcement officers, but anybody who's displaying a servant's heart. We're putting some of those stories up there on the web for people to see. It's servantsheartstories.com, servantsheartstories.com. You can go to the Sheriff's Office Facebook page, and there's a link on there where you can see some of those stories and be inspired by other people who are really showing what it means to be a servant?
You know, and give it, I try to tell people, give it a try. It makes you feel so good when you do something for somebody who you don't have to. It's not because they have money or they're going to do something for you. But that's my favorite thing to do, is somebody who doesn't expect you to do something, and you do something for them that can't give you nothing back. And seeing that smile and seeing that, it's contagious.
And I know how you must feel when you hear those stories like you were just talking about from that particular deputy, because you know the people that you've got working at the sheriff's office, and you know the kind of people that they are and the things that they're out there doing, some of the things, but you know they're doing a lot of things that you don't know about. And when you hear one of those stories, you know there's 100 more that you haven't heard about. Absolutely.
And you know, whenever they tell me that, I always try to make sure that we get with that deputy, and I'll send an email out to the whole agency and go, hey, here's an email I got, what deputy had done, and hey, thank you for serving the people, thank you for being a fine example. And I really think positive leadership, you can always get onto somebody for doing wrong, but we never build people up when they do right. You know, we'll make a big issue about a negative, but somebody does something good, we're like, oh, that was great, I'm glad he did that. You know, that's what he gets paid for.
Yeah.
You know, we all get paid because we have to make money to earn a living, but how we treat people shows a lot about who we are, and it's a culture. And that's a culture we're striving for at the sheriff's office. Do we always meet the mark? No, but we're striving, we're working hard, and man, my God, I know I say it, and I don't want to sound cliche-ish or corny, but I have wonderful people that work for me, and they do for me each and every day, and I stand amazed at what they do daily to help others above and beyond their paycheck, changing tires, things of that nature.
All right. Well, we do appreciate the volunteers and everybody that works hard for the community, and we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with our Crime Stoppers segment on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.
And welcome to the Crime Stoppers portion of our show, where we ask you to help our investigators with the following cases. First up on your caseload this week, between November 17th and November 20th, a burglary occurred at Welborn High School. Some classrooms were vandalized there. And on November 23rd, this home was burglarized on Hollingsworth Road in Wellington. Some of the items stolen were a television and DVD player, along with many power tools, including a Poland chainsaw, Craftsman generator, and a Craftsman air compressor. And on November 25th, the home on Clark Cutoff in Wellington was burglarized. 2 rifles, 2 pistols, and cash were stolen from that location. And on November 25th, burglary occurred at this home on Alabama Highway 144. Hewlett-Packard laptop and miscellaneous clothes were stolen from that location. And sometime between November 16th and November 27th, this vehicle was broken into in Noble Street. Keys, a power inverter, and cash were stolen from that vehicle. And on November 28th, this home on Alexandria Wellington Road in Wellington was burglarized. Damage was done to the residence, but nothing has been reported stolen at this time. And also on November 28th, the burglary occurred at this residence on Rock Springs Road. Vizio television, computer, printer, Samsung speakers, a Yeti cooler, including a jewelry box, and contents therein were stolen. And on November 28th, the home on Clark Cutoff in Wellington was burglarized. The television and pistol were taken from that location. And sometime between November 28th and November 30th, the home on Mitchellville Road was broken into. 2 televisions, a Dell laptop, and a jewelry box were stolen. And on November 30th, this home was burglarized on Alexandria Wellington Road. 2 television, an Xbox, a Hewlett-Packard computer, iPad, and jewelry box were stolen from there. And on November 30th, a home on Ross Lake Road was burglarized, but nothing has been reported stolen at this time. And last up on your caseload this week, between November 26th and December 1st, this home on Cochran Springs Road was burglarized. 2 televisions, a DVR jewelry, 2 video cameras, a Nikon camera, and 2 GPS and 2 purple suitcases were stolen from that location. And that's your Crime Stoppers caseload for this week. Please, if you have any information on these cases, give us a call at Crime Stoppers. That number, 256-238-1414. Remember, we want your information and not your name.
Stop stupid! You're so stupid!
All right, our crazy criminal this week, Sheriff. A lot of us get frustrated in traffic.
Yeah. Sometimes it'll get the best of you.
That doesn't mean that we get out a paintbrush and change the traffic signs in the middle of the road.
That's pretty awesome, though. I mean,
Shao Key is the individual we're talking about. There he is. He's in the middle of the road. Traffic's moving. He's got his paint bucket and his brush. That's the road that he drives on going to work or coming home every day, and he just can't get home fast enough. That lane's always blocked, so he's out there changing.
He's out there, so he planned ahead. This was not a spur of the moment thing,
no.
so he planned on it.
Now, look at the arrows. You got one going that way, another one going the. That doesn't look very safe to me.
No, it doesn't, and I'm sitting there trying to figure that out, but I think that back one might be a U-turn, but I'm not sure. But I like his ingenuity. Who's to question him? Let him go forward. Let him go straight. I don't know.
They didn't arrest him, but they did give him a fine of about $200.
It looks like it was well worth his money, in my opinion, because he went and bought paint. I mean, his arrow looked professional.
Yeah,
I mean, he was on it.
Yeah.
So.
Real quick, we're almost out of time, but I know we're talking about volunteers today. The folks that come into the jail ministry.
Man, the jail ministry, they come in, volunteers almost daily come in and try to minister to these people and help them with their child issues and everything else. I don't want to leave them out. They're a godsend, and we love them and thank them for all that they do.
All right, well, that's all the time that we have for this week. We thank you for joining us, and we'll be looking for you again next week, but hopefully not in the lineup on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.